Thinking of where to go to?
Come on now.
Be on board with Patrice Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Lois and I'm in the studio with Joanne Scotty and of course Dr. Reju, the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, CTL JOS. You're welcome to the studio today.
Thank you, Lois. I don't know, the others don't want to answer you.
Yeah, thank you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think before we go on, I just want to interrupt for something that's very important. I want us to pay, on a sad note, a tribute to, is it Rinji?
Yes.
A guy that was senselessly gunned down by the military. And we can't even say he's at the prime of his life, but my take on that is this has been, the story for many years. On my way here, I tuned myself with music, and on my way here, I had to look for that music by Fela, Sorrow, Tears and Blood. Mm-hmm. And it's as if he was singing, about Rinji. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's something he did in the 70s. So this has been, and for me, it's like the young people today, because he said something in that, in that track that Nigerians are afraid to fight for what they want the most: the freedom, the liberty. We have a lot of reasons. I don't want to die. I have kids. I have this. I have that. We are so self. The culture of self-preservation has been with us for a very long time, and it's been further aggravated now that social media offers like a placebo. Once you've posted something on Facebook, you think you've done something. And mine is, I don't want that guy's life, to just become, just like the way you just step on an ant. And it's sad, but I don't like paying tribute to young people, so this is not a tribute. This is to whip up, enough anger. Because like one of my mentees posted today on her Facebook wall that it could have been her. It could have been her younger brother. It could be you, it could be your dad, it could be your brother. So my desire is that Nigerians we become angry enough. So I'm so sorry I'm starting on that. Not that I'm really sorry, but that's it's something that we just have to put, in the public space. That Nigerians, we need to amend our ways. We've forgotten how to get angry.
Really?
Wow. I hope I didn't take you off course.
No. Okay. On our last episode on the program, we discussed patriotic citizenship even in crisis. If you missed out on that episode, don't worry. Just visit our website at answerswithdrreju.org to listen to all our previous episodes. And today, we'll be looking at the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the schooling system. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the schooling system. Okay. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected educational systems worldwide, leading to the closure of schools, universities, and colleges. If we try to make sense of this situation, would it mean that schooling across the world is supposed to have gone more advanced and have alternative virtual structures for a time as this? It's a question.
Oh.
Yes,
okay.
It was.
I didn't know you were asking me a question. I thought you were doing your intro. Well, it's another opportunity for us to do some, paint some realities. It's we don't expect any kind of magic. When you say the impact of COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19 is holistic. It's, further, like I said, it aggravates the rot that's in our system, both the health sector, if you're focusing on the educational sector, on a lot of episodes on this program, we've spoken about education, and we have not minced words in trying to, draw a clear distinction, right, between schooling and education. And this further brings that home. As an educationist, as an education proprietor, I've seen the way, like a minister of education once said, I've forgotten his, I think it's Babs Fafunwa, was a one-time minister of education in Nigeria. And while he was responding to a question that the standard of education has fallen in Nigeria, he said, no, the standard hasn't fallen. We haven't just rise up to it. The standard is set. Right? Only that institutions have not been able to build a structure that can meet the standard. It's still, is it how many credits in WAEC?
Still 5.
It's still 5 credits. So that's the standard.
Yes.
If we say the standard has fallen, that means we're saying, okay, if you have 2 credits now.
Surprise.
So the standard hasn't fallen, but when he said that, it was, it made a lot of sense. But today is worse because even the 8 credits today, that credit has lost value.
Yeah.
The credit has lost value. So, one, culturally speaking, we don't place any kind of importance in education. Again, and the way we view education, it has become warped. Education now is certificate. So if we have a correct definition of what being educated is, if we have a correct understanding of what health is, COVID won't have all these kind of effects. Because when we look at things just in isolated cases, it becomes a problem. We won't be able to come up with any solution that's sustainable. So the educational system, if, as a person, I don't like it as a person being caught unawares. I always want to be ahead of things. I don't like to react to situations. So if now we have COVID and we are even considering that we might not have third term, we might not have this, we might not have that, we might not have that. So everybody is kind of confused. My pain is that this is going to affect the same way the poor is going to be affected, by hunger, the same way the poor is going to be affected by the disease, and they won't be, some poor people can't even get tested. Yeah. So it's the same thing. So we tell some parents, that, okay, we want to move this thing online. And the question, like I said last week, the parent will ask, who is going to buy me data? That is the value. Because sometimes we look at the government. COVID is not the problem of our education. I don't want us to over magnify COVID. COVID is a virus, right? That's killing people, it's affecting people. We need to obey those health guidelines. But we must not just, it's as if the way I must keep doing that debrief. It's as if COVID is going to be here forever. It's as if we're going to be on a lockdown forever. So COVID has affected education. But how, the question, Lois, should be, how should we respond? I don't want to magnify the problem because COVID is just it's just a timeout in a movie. It's an interlude.
Okay.
It's an interlude. So how do we ensure that we don't lose the story where it stopped? Right?
Yeah.
So where the story as regards education stopped, by the time the movie continues, will it connect? I think the interlude should help us, right, to reappraise a lot of things. If we've had sound educational policy, sound educational value system, when problems come, it can only lift us up. So if we have problems in education now, it's because we've not put the right things in place before now. Lockdown, schools can't open. Parents are not even concerned. Right? So if it's education, it can't affect it. But if it's schooling, it can ruin it. So we need to look at this. This is an opportunity to shift that paradigm that we want to educate. And that's why a lot of people can't see the benefit in, okay, let's put this online. let's continue to learn online. They said, no, we should shut down the school because everywhere is on lockdown. You can't stop breathing. If you still want to be alive.
Sure.
So that to me is we can't just begin to answer the question without looking at the the structure that's on ground. That's why COVID is affecting it. If there's something that's good there is going to be a response, not a reaction.
Okay. So found out that different countries have gone virtual as regards this, and for me, I don't know, but I feel like Nigeria is not really ready for it. And
I don't know. I don't think anyone is ready for it. I read a story about Britain. There are a lot of students and pupils are going to suffer because schools are going online. It's not everybody in Britain that have access to internet, computer, and all these kind of things. So sometimes don't be too hard on yourself, right? Don't think you are alone with problems. When you have a problem and you think you are the only one, the problem becomes bigger.
Yeah.
So we are not the only one. So because if we think we are the only one, okay, people are overcoming it, right? So if we say, okay, what can we do? Because for me, the issue of online education is not an either or, it's both and. You can't put education holistically online. It will be incomplete. And you can't put education holistically in a site. It will also be incomplete. Education should be home, should be on the road. Education should happen. I always tell the story. I learned road signs traveling with my dad. That's part of education. Yes. That's how I learned road signs. There are a lot of people today with valid driver's license. They'll fail the highway code if they are interviewed because they don't know those signs. And the dean of our high school was telling me that it was when they traveled to Abuja. We got a lot of students, some students traveled to Abuja, that it was on that route, that trip, that he was pointing it out. Then that was where many of them knew those road signs. It's part of education. The way we've defined education is the means of preparing pupils and students for an examination.
Yes, sir. But sir, we have subjects. I know that we learn, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a school setting, to learn. But we have subjects like physics and chemistry, that need to be taught both theory and practical. And we have that in schools because I grew up learning some certain things. It is in school. You get to learn them. But you see, because of the impact of these, particular, COVID virus or whatever it is.
No, please, let's. I don't want us to send any message out there that COVID is not real.
Yeah, it is.
COVID is real. I don't want us to send any kind of. We don't want to create any impression that COVID is a myth. No, it's real. It's as real as malaria. Let's put it that way. Yeah. You can't wish malaria away. You have to treat it. Now there's no treatment for it. Only experimental. So I needed to interject.
Yes, sir.
But when you say subjects, I'm very glad about that question. You see, it's impossible, Lois, to really learn physics in the laboratory alone. It's impossible.
Sure.
It's impossible to learn any subject in a place. It has to be in place, in space, by experience. I had a guy once that was part of our organization, and he read medicine in one of the universities in Nigeria and traveled abroad. And if you live here with even a medical certificate, if you get to a place like United States, you can't practice. You have to go back to school. She said this is someone who was already practicing as a dentist here. When she got to New York University, NYU, she said she felt like she's never been in school.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's not just medicine. I had one guy who worked with NTA who traveled to the United States to cover, he's a sports journalist, traveled to cover Atlanta 96. And she said when he entered CNN, he couldn't believe that he ever worked in a TV station.
Oh.
because of the way he has to cover the way others cover the event and need to send report home. At this time, 1996, this guy doesn't have a laptop. 1996, doesn't have a laptop. At that time, laptop had become, people were just sending pictures and all this kind of. He had to, look for maybe a diskette and mail. You see, that's how far back. But you see, I can excuse him being on that level in 1996. But if you look at how people send reports today, it's gone way beyond even what we do. Yeah. We still have a lot of problems doing live coverages here. Not all can do it. We still see network connection and all those kind of things. Fine, we've gone way, but you see, education, my point is education has to be so holistic. If all you've done, I remember I finished high school in 1979. I still remember my biology laboratory in the village where my high school was. There's the twins inside the bottle. Yeah, I still remember. I said, there are these twins inside the bottle. They said they are real human beings, so these twins inside one bottle. We had all those kind of things in our laboratory. So today, you can enter that laboratory virtually.
Yeah.
And actually interact with all the items in the laboratory right on your laptop. But it's not also the same when you can touch it. So we need to have a very holistic approach to education, because everybody is saying online. It's not either or. Online is not the future. It's just it's an important part of the future. The reality is everything won't go online. Online is a means, it's not the end. It can make us more effective. If everything's going to be online, when I buy this coffee mug online, I should be able to use it too virtually. It has to be delivered, right? Even if we use a drone to deliver it, it still must be delivered. I can't use this coffee mug virtually. There's no virtual coffee. We will never drink a coffee online, right?
Very true, sir.
These are the because we Africans are just always excited about this sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go on a break and we'll be back for more. Stay with us.
Thinking of where to go to? Be on board with Patrice Radio.
Okay, you're welcome back from the break. Before we went on the break, we're talking about the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the schooling system.
All right, so in the impact of COVID-19 on the schooling system, one of the things I've thought of is that it seems as if there's going to be a shift much more from the classroom setting kind of a teaching to an online teaching method or teaching system. And you've actually said it earlier on that online is more of is actually a means, it's not the end to it. But one of the things I'm also saying is that it seems as if there's going to be a retrenchment of staff post COVID-19 in the educational sector. Reason being that somehow some teaching things, there's one of the teaching method is going to go online, and then there will be need to retrench some staff from the basic classroom teaching system. So don't you see this coming through?
Yeah, I mean, it's very that might be an unfortunate reality, but that's the fact of life. There's a particular quote that I always like to use. I've forgotten the name of the person who made the quote. I think it was a one-time chairman of a telecommunications company in the US. He said, if the changes around you is at a faster pace than the change within you, you will soon become irrelevant. Right? Yeah. You will soon become irrelevant. Because the technology world, this whole world driven by technology, it gives everyone the opportunity. It's like a plug and play. It's a language you guys will understand, right? Everybody can come. There is a room for everyone. You've seen some of the telecoms, they make, they advertise data with a woman that's grilling fish, maybe in West of Mines, and he puts it on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And the woman can sell her fish. That's using technology to drive that seemingly, kind of not too, it's not high level kind of business. So that technology gives you that edge. Now, there's going to be, there are some ways of teaching that will render the old ways, irrelevant. But the fact that you've been retrenched from maybe teaching in a school because it's a challenge. And you also have to now look within yourself. Because this is for me, what people need to hear, that the future is going to be driven by gifting. And that gives everybody room to function. Because there's something that you have that Lois doesn't have.
Sure.
There's something Lois is so gifted with that Joanne doesn't have. Right?
Yeah.
I can't sit where you sit. I don't know if I can present a program. If I can, maybe I can't do it on your level. So if the future is going to be driven by gifting, nobody should be scared of being retrenched.
Wow.
It's just an announcement for you to look within yourself. Let me tell you, I don't have accurate statistics, but I can tell you there is a very significant percentage of people who are on wrong jobs. I was painting a reality to some of, the parents of our wards in our school, that there is an article I read, about 2 years ago, that the pupils who are in school right now, right, that the job they are going to do is not yet in existence.
Wow, that's serious.
That's the truth.
Wow.
The job they are going to do is not yet in existence.
Wow.
That's the statistics. Because the world changed in 5 years. The changes that happened within the space of 5 years is more than the changes that happened in about 70 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
World indeed.
So that's the point. So if you and I'm not trying to give anybody like a false hope. No, because hope is not a strategy. I'm not talking about hoping. I'm not talking about praying. I'm not talking about wishing. I'm not talking about... No, you have to realistically look within yourself and say, what is it that is in me? Who am I? What can I do? There must be... I saw this program on channels yesterday, how if a guy in Lagos is using, waste, plastic waste, right, to create all manner of things. That to me is how to be an environmental activist, not by just making noise and shooting your mouth anywhere and talking about global warming. That's how, because in someone's waste is someone's wealth. Right? We like catchy phrases in Nigeria. There is treasure in the trash. Meanwhile, you just talk. Only few. Even if that guy is using plastic to make all kinds of artistic stuff, there's a massive market. There's a massive market. There's a guy in this city. I think we featured him once on one of our programs. He plants coffee, he makes coffee. I said, what's your market like? He said, I can't meet the demand.
Wow.
Where is farming? A lot of people are on the wrong jobs. They are just doing something to get by. No one should be jobless. Joblessness, I don't have a job, doesn't exist. It's your own reality. It doesn't exist. If we understand the human being as a device, right, we will know that it can be useless. What people need, oh my goodness, they don't even know. They don't even know. So the retrenchment thing, it just opens up other areas of activities which is going to be of benefit to everybody. But people just need to think. People need to be in it for the long haul.
Okay, sir. I think I don't know how many states in the country tried to do the same, but in Plateau State, the government tried to make use of TV and radio to teach their kids. So you would have a teacher teach English, maths, and all that to the children at home. So please, I want to know your thoughts about it. Do you think that is effective?
That's okay, but it's not effective. There's no way you can use TV. One, it's not personal. It's not, it's not conversational. I mean, we use, there's Google Classroom, where that is free, it's conversational. You see, TV is not a virtual class. When you say you talk about virtual class, right, it's as if you are there, but you are not really there. That is, you are there. Everything that a normal physical class offers, virtual class also offers. Is only that you won't be able to touch, Scotty, right? But you can chat. I asked my 10-year-old, greet your friends. He said, really? I can? I said, yes, you write a note there. How are you guys coping? And some of them responded. So she was excited that, okay, so we can still. So it's a virtual class. Virtual means it's not physical. It's not tangible, right? But it gives you all the impressions of. Virtual is actually false. Yeah. It's false reality. So nobody should make virtual reality their reality, right? It will disappoint you. So these are the issues that so when you said I don't know, that's not going to work. When you say you want to teach with TV can can sensitize you to, but you can, because education must be interactive. You can't interact with TV. So and the government can't do online learning, which is very unfortunate. They cannot. You see,
So government schools are left out.
Government schools, unfortunately, are going to be left out because they've been left out for long before COVID. Unfortunately, they've been left out for long. You see, if I have my way, as much as I want to be someone who pioneers an educational institution, right? I will still fight for public education to be well structured, because I want someone who will come to a private school that I'm setting up because they can afford it. Right?
Okay.
Yes. Not because they don't have a choice. Yeah. Because many people take their kids to public schools to private school, because the public schools are not just there. But if you look at a lot of private schools too, when we're talking about, because if you take education to TV, you can have a program, maybe, to just remind them of what they've learned, but that can be, it tells me how much of, because even in the private schools, if you look at the curriculum, is so way outdated. It takes the child. I'm wondering, what's my daughter doing learning about the Titanic?
So, sorry, sir. Where does standard come in here? Because you say we already have a standard.
Yeah, the standard is set, and I gave an example. The standard is set. If you don't have 5 credits, you can, you must pass JAM. Those are the standards.
But our curriculum should fit into our standard.
That now comes out of how responsible are those who set the standards. How well do you review the standard to make sure it's current? Right? You see, how much of what we, I'll tell you, maybe you saw it on social media, but it was true. There are textbooks that are used in Nigerian schools where they learn part of the body and say, what is the use of the head? And they say it's to carry load.
Yeah. So that.
Yeah. Head is meant to be used to carry load. Do you know it's not that bad? Because we might laugh about it. Do we use our head to carry load here?
Yes, we do.
Huh?
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. Because there's a difference between head and brain.
Yes.
right?
There is.
Using the head to carry load, you might use that as a cultural kind of thing. In fact, if it is wrong, you won't even be able to fault it if you don't first of all paint that reality that people use their heads to carry load, because people sit and say, what? You see, we're talking about learning. You don't only learn the right things, you also learn wrong things so that you can avoid it. So heads are used to carry load. You use bags to carry load. It's part of education. You know? So, I mean, it's not all. Now, I see in our textbooks, maybe like a comprehension. I've forgotten the way they call these things now. The story that they used to teach there, many of these schools use it. They use it maybe in our school too, but we're changing all those kind of things now. The story is... So, you know, I'm making all these instances to let us know that it's not COVID. COVID is not killing our education. It was already comatose. COVID is not killing our health system. It was already comatose. Right? So we can't say, because, you know, we can't say it's COVID, but we have to look at the impact of COVID on that comatose, you know, schooling system. You want to, you know, you are painting, you want to tell a story to pupils, age 9, 10, and you use the Chinese New Year festival. You are asking them, what is lunar calendar? What are they going to use that for? Why don't you use your festival? Why don't you use, I don't know which festival is in your village?
Maybe the
festival.
Argungu
fishing festival. Why don't you use all that? Why? What do they have to do with Chinese New Year festival? Will they learn about Eyo in China? You see, these are the things we need to do. We need to have homegrown curriculum that can really help our educational system, so that the child is not learning something in class, and when he gets to the outside world, it's a totally different world. Like that person who graduated with a medical degree, got to New York University, that the picture that of maybe I'll use an example of the microscope that he saw in the textbook. He's now seeing the microscope literally. The one in the textbook is the one of 19th century. Right? The one they now use is, you know, the first computer that I ever saw when I was working in the bank was like a wardrobe. Yeah. Mainframe.
Massive. Okay.
Like a wardrobe. So if you see that today, you know, you just kind of freak out. Yeah.
Wow.
So I understand that you run a college and you're trying very hard to ensure that schooling continues. How's that been for you, and what has been your major challenges and the measures you've put in place to ensure that, you know, parents are able to understand?
Well, the major challenge are the parents. You know, the kids are excited about it, that they can now at least they have access to a phone for the right reasons, but the parents don't really see. And you know, my take is, if when we think of education and we still have to think of money, we have a problem. Number one, like I said, money shouldn't be a limiting factor, right? There should be quality education for every level of income. Yeah. Because education is very expensive. If the government offers it, right, they must pay. There's nothing called free education. In fact, in life, there's nothing that's free. Somebody paid. That you didn't pay doesn't mean it's free. So, if for the reason public schools are weak, is because it's not funded. We still live in those days when they say the reward of the teacher is in heaven, and we won't kill the teacher so that the teacher can quickly go and go and get his or her reward.
Wow.
Right? We still want the teacher here. If the reward of the teacher is in heaven, what's the teacher doing here? Once you say you are a teacher, let's kill you, and then, because it's not the only way to go to heaven, right? Is it not by dying? Yeah, let's kill the teachers, but we pay them poorly. Somebody can get a job in a bank and say go and teach. That's not COVID. That's not COVID. That narrative is not COVID. That's the value we place on education. So when I say we want to move our schools online and parents are resisting it, the question I ask them is, I'm moving the school online. Do you think I want to hurt your kids? You see, we're in a place where parents think about educating their kids, right, for their own benefit.
Yeah.
Not for the benefit of the kids. Right? They think of their own comfort. They don't know that you are not going to ever be able to educate your child, right, if you are not willing to sacrifice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've discovered that our parents prefer to spend more for schooling than education.
Yeah, because schooling is cheap. Yeah,
See, and there's a price tag to schooling. So they feel that if my child is going to school, even if that child is not being educated, the child is going to school. So the impact of their money, on the child is
that's the reason why you will not trust a child that says, there was a parent that was giving us an instance that the child said, I don't want to do biology. And the parent went, you won't do biology? And he said, that is of no use to me. And the dad said he has to really think again. Really? He doesn't have to do biology. In those days, biology is compulsory. If he doesn't have to do biology. You see, my own philosophy, and I'm willing to, although, it's intellectual property, but I'm willing to be generous with it. It's my philosophy is it's not the duty of a school to educate your child.
Sure.
It is the duty of the parents to educate the child. Now you now take the child to an educational institution, which we call school, to educate your child on your behalf. That's why you pay.
Okay.
It's a delegated. Yeah. Okay. So in that school education, if that child knows how to talk, the duty of an education institution is to look at the uniqueness of every child. You see, if I have my way, elementary schools, in fact, even to high school, there will be no position. No first, second, third, but no. Right? Yeah. Because it's very counterproductive. Nobody can fail. Right? Because if you appraise me on mathematics, it's unfair. It's not my strength. Right? It's not my strength. If you come and appraise me on physics, it's not my strength. But if you give me English, you give me literature, you give me all those kind of things, that's my strength. Why should they make maths and English compulsory? Why? Why should English be compulsory for someone who is going to study medicine? Why can't we scale it down? Okay, as long that English for this guy is just a means of communication. Right? Just a means of communication. That's the point. So why? So if he's going to study medicine, somebody that's going to study medicine will be strong in mathematics.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not, it's natural. I won't touch medicine. What am I doing there? I'm not that boring. I'm sorry.
Or biology for,
biology for someone that's going to, what is biology for someone that's going to study media? What do you want to do with biology? You can read it for pleasure. You can read it just for knowledge. Maybe you are doing, even if you want to do a research, a news research that needs biology, call somebody that read biology to help you out.
Sure.
Just like a movie person, you want to write a movie on medicine. You don't have to be a doctor. Get a doctor to help you scrutinize your script. That's all. And pay the doctor well. This is the way it works. But you see, we just want everyone, you should get a grade because you can run. Because you can talk. The noise maker in the class, it's a sign, it's a signal to his or her gifting.
True.
But he said the introvert is bad, the extrovert is good. In some reason you say the extrovert is bad, the introvert is the one that's very reflective. everyone, you see, it's functional education. You see, if you learn driving at when you're already 22, you can never drive well. You should start learning at 16, even 15. By 18, you get your driver's license. Yeah, I started driving at 16.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, you guys, all you know to do is listen to horrible music.
Okay, we're going to go on another break. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Thinking of where to go to? Be on board with Patrice Radio.
You're welcome back from the break. If you're just joining us, this is Answers with Dr. Reggie, where critical life issues are clarified. And if you missed out on any of our episodes, just go to our website at answerswithdrreggie.org to listen. Okay, so we've been talking about the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the schooling system. Scotty, you have a question?
Yeah, I actually have a question, but it's more like my fears.
Okay.
So we have established here that prior COVID-19, the educational system in Nigeria is at a state of comatose.
Yeah.
And my fear is this: if
Do you believe that?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I do. But this is my fear. The products we produce, that's the graduates we do produce, at the end of the day, even at the state of our educational system being comatose, have not actually been able to meet up this world standard. Like you just explained, the medical graduate from Nigerian here going to New York and then have to go back to school there. And my fear is, what will now happen to us with the impact that COVID-19 is now posting on us again in our educational system?
Yeah, it's going to set us back.
Worse?
It's going to, you know, where because it's like we're going to go many steps back now.
Wow.
We have a lot of, you know, it's taking us further back. It's further weakened us.
Wow.
It's further weakened us because the especially for public institutions. This is already May, right?
Yeah.
Third term is supposed to end mid-July, right?
Yes, sir.
Why is supposed? You see, this is what I told the parents in our school, and I'm going to say it, that very soon, WAEC certificates in Nigeria will not even be accepted in a place like Ghana,
Wow.
because our level of exam practices is on the global scale. You see, with the way WAEC structures their timetable, it's impossible for any school to cover the syllabus before the exams.
True.
Now, if you want to write common entrance happens in the second term. Yeah. So it's as if there's a disconnect between, you know, the examination bodies and the schools. So those kind of things are already there. And that's why everybody will now, a lot of people have taken advantage of the rot in the public education system. When I was going to university in the 80s, there was no private university. It was only the last born of our family, who was born in 1974, that went to a nursery school. There was no nursery school. You start from primary 1 to 6. Yeah, there was no nursery school. Now there are schools, you know, that start from daycare. There are some nurseries that the school fees is higher than that they pay in the university. You see, if I have a hospital, I can't employ any doctor from any Nigerian university. A medical degree that you spend 40,000, 100,000 to earn,
You're right, sir.
I can't. It's dangerous. Do you know why in America you don't study medicine as a first degree? It's a postgraduate course. You can do computer science and go and study medicine. You can do Yoruba or Igbo or Birom, have a first degree in Birom and go and study medicine once you pass the assessment, because you are going to another school. So medical degree is not, you know, it's not undergraduate. So you see, there are a lot of things. So you spoke about, you see, the way out is functional education. You see, education is the bedrock. It's like the foundation, right? Who teaches the doctor? An educator. Who teaches the engineer? An educator. So education is the bedrock. So we should have a society that educates, right? So that is, everyone needs to be educated based on their human uniqueness, right? Somebody goes to school to study mass communication. Honestly, you don't need a degree to be a mass communication expert. You don't need it. A mass communication, kind of education should be hands-on. Should be like 3% theoretical. It should be field. Best broadcast personalities didn't study mass comm.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't study mass comm. Because mass comm has a lot of, what the camera guys are doing here. They are communicating with the mass. That's what mass communication is. Right. So you don't need that kind of, do you? Because you have loads of books to read and very few practical. You are not exposed. There are lots of schools, they have mass communication departments, there's no studio.
Right.
Even if there's a studio, it's so grossly underfunded, under-equipped. Right? Because there are a lot of things now. This station, this Patriot Radio is an online station. This was impossible 5-6 years ago. If you're going to set up a radio station, you need to be talking of millions. But now, so these are the kind of things that we have to really take our education for what it is. Because for many, schooling, I listen to a lot of graduates and they don't have stuff. Because many of them are not supposed to even find themselves to a university. They are better off in the mechanic shed. But if you call somebody a mechanic,
feels bad.
It's very condescending. But the guy fixed the car of the professor, right? So these are is the way to go. Is the way to go. So if anybody is listening there, and I think without paying a dime, I can advertise. In our high school, you go for internship every holiday. You study photography, you study auto engineering, you study tailoring. That your area of gifting, you must have a hands-on experience in it. Because if you go to a place like America, basic education is a high school diploma. Yeah. Once you have high school diploma, it's enough. You are good to go. Exactly. But here you have PhD holders who have nothing in their heads.
Yes.
They are so incompetent. You can't even hire them for anything. These are the realities. So if that's the way our education is structured, COVID will only open other avenues.
That's right.
Look at what COVID has done. A lot of people are now sewing face masks and all those kind of things. But I fear for that kind of person. Right? COVID will go. What will happen to face masks? So this is, it takes education for that person to learn that this is not it. This is just a face. So don't go and invest so much into that, and then by the time it's gone, you are poor again. So that's the way we are. We just learn to take advantage of situation. So it's not going to be so expensive. You are not factoring the fact that the whole essence of producing face mask, right, is to help people prevent being infected, with the COVID-19 virus. For you, it's business. That's wrong. That's wrong. It's service. Yeah, it's a social enterprise. Only education can tell you that.
Very true.
That's right.
Very true.
John had a question and I also did, but our time is up and we've come to the end of the program for today. You can visit our website at answerswithdrreggie.org to stream on all our previous episodes. We'll see you next week for another exciting episode. Thank you for listening.
Thinking of where to go to? Be on board with Patrice Radio.